The Black Death, also known as the Bubonic Plague, is a horrible and gruesome piece of history. But what if this terrible plague had never happened? Would the world today be a better place? Let us take a look at some of the ways that the Black Death affected our world and how things might have been different if it never occurred. The Bubonic Plague arrived in Europe in 1346 and is believed to have come from rats that were infected with oriental rat fleas. These fleas were carrying a bacterium called Yersinia pestis, which would cause the bubonic plague. The disease was awful. Symptoms included painful swellings in the groin, armpits and neck, fever, chills, and vomiting. Most people who contracted the disease died within a week. It is estimated that around 25 million people died in Europe from the plague, with most of those deaths occurring between 1346 and 1353. One of the main effects of the Black Death was a significant drop in population in Europe. This led to an increase in the power of the peasant class. With fewer people around, peasants had more bargaining power when it came to working for higher wages. This shift in power is thought to have helped bring about the end of feudalism as the power of the aristocracy was weakened. If the plague had not occurred, then it is possible that feudalism may have lasted much longer. After the plague, there was a huge shortage of workers in Europe. This led to an increase in the amount people were paid for labor. However, this did not last long. By the 1360s, the population had begun to recover and the wages paid to workers dropped again. The Black Death also had an impact on religion in Europe. Many people saw the plague as punishment from God for the sins of humanity. This led to the establishment of flagellant groups, which were groups of people who went around whipping themselves as a form of penance for the sins of humanity. The flagellants believed that they could help prevent the spread of the plague by punishing themselves. Of course, this didn't actually work, and the plague continued to spread. Some countries even tried to blame foreigners for the spread of the disease in order to avoid taking responsibility for it themselves. For example, the English blamed the French and the Italians blamed the Germans. This xenophobia and scapegoating only made things worse, as it led to increased persecution of certain groups of people. The Black Death also had an impact on art and literature during this time period. One of the most famous paintings created during this time was a depiction of the Dance of Death, which showed skeletons dancing with humans. This was meant to remind people that death could come for them at any time. Another famous piece of art created during this time was a woodblock print called The Triumph of Death. This showed a skeleton with a scythe riding a horse and was meant to represent the power of death. If the Black Death had not happened, then it is likely that feudalism would have continued on for much longer in Europe. It is also possible that there would have been more religious persecution, as there would have been no icon or event to blame for the questioning of religious beliefs. There were many advancements made during the Renaissance, but it is possible that these advancements would have come later if the plague had not occurred, without the massive drop in population that the plague caused. There may have also been less of a push for exploration outside of Europe. As there were fewer people available to do the work, Europeans began to explore other parts of the world in order to find new trade routes. If the plague had not happened, then there would have been more people available to do this type of work, and it is possible that exploration would have come later. The Black Death had a major impact on our world, and it is hard to imagine how things would have been different if it had never happened. It is possible that we would be living in a very different world today. Do you think that the Black Death had a positive or negative impact on our world? Let us know your thoughts. Thanks for watching Parallelish, where imagination bends reality. I'm Nova, your guide through the unknown. Want to explore more timelines? Tap the playlist above and keep diving into the what-ifs. Until next time, stay curious.